Hello friends, Rodge here, aka the Wisco Horn Dog. It is Saga Thursday, once again, your regular source for Saga miniatures game content. And today we're having some fun, mixing things up. We're doing what I call a Warband showcase, and we're taking a look at my buddy Andrew's Viking Warband. He painted these up from maybe in March or April of 2016 last year. It was kind of right before Saga Thursday kind of kicked into high gear. We did a mini campaign among the 6 of us, and he was actually the first person, I think, to actually finish painting his warband. He almost had these finished right before the campaign even started. So he plowed through these babies, and I think he did a pretty good job. You might recognize them from the How to Play Saga videos. These are the Vikings my Anglo-Danes were up against, and I thought I would take some high quality photos, give you guys a good look at these, and kind of discuss my thoughts on his paint, his techniques, the models themselves, and I think it turned out pretty good, pretty fun. So let's take a look at that right now. All right, first up here, we've got a unit of warriors. You can see these are Gripping Beast Viking plastics by the looks of it. And you can see that Andrew is using a pretty cohesive scheme here. Green shields, green clothes. These are the regular guys, so it makes sense. Overall, they look decent. I guess I didn't notice when we were playing that they were just basically green and brown, but it works. I do like the heads on these guys. Looking at them, I don't see that there's any duplicates, and each one kind of has characterful hair. I like the second from the right. Dude's got long hair, nice beard, looking cool. Skin tones are good. Just went for the whites of the eyes on these ones. Curious what everybody's opinion is on painting the eyes. I know more in historical circles they usually don't get painted, but I always paint them, and you know, there's a lot of trial and error, but I'm getting pretty good at it myself. One thing is, I'd be curious for your opinion as well, the whites kind of pop out for me. I almost prefer them just to be like a regular skin tone. I think they'd be less obtrusive, but when you're playing with them on the battlefield, I don't think you'd notice one way or the other, but it's just kind of, I'm picking up on it in these photos here. We've got 8 of these guys. Basing, we're looking for just the GW static grass. Looks all right, nothing too fancy. So I think there's another unit of warriors as well, but let's go through the order I took the photos in. Okay, cool. These guys, Andrew is using them as Hearthguard. You can see these guys are a little fancier. Sticking with the greens on the clothes, the same kind of brown. These guys have chainmail, obviously, but then he was able to differentiate based off the shields there. So using a nice quartered pattern there. It looks good. Anytime you can do those shields, I think it looks good. I'm not actually sure what models these are, and if you know, please post below. Now, Andrew picked these up from a good friend of ours, Butcher, and he had a big Warhammer Ancients army. He played for years and years. So Andrew picked these up from him, you know, in exchange for doing some grunt work, assembly, or painting models or something like that. And he said they're either foundry or artisan, and I looked at those sites and I don't recognize these models. I think maybe this one on the far right I did see, but the other 3 I haven't. And the scales look similar though, so maybe they could be, maybe I wasn't clicking on the right thing. But these guys, decent hair on these fellows, 2 of them wearing helmets, swords, pretty basic. This guy's rocking a 2-hander here. And another angle of these guys, so you can see even the dude with the 2-hander is packing a shield there. And I kind of like that for units. I think, you know, there are Dane axes, I guess 2-handed weapons technically, but you know, it's pretty obvious what the units are, so you can definitely mix up the weapons, and I think that's a cool idea here. The sword actually isn't that long. It kind of looks like a You know, he's just holding it with 2 hands, just a normal length sword, which I think in the time period they didn't really get that long. They were mostly just these one-handed ones. All right, moving along to the second batch of these guys. So the one on the far right, you know, he looks different. He is definitely an artisan mini, and I found him on their site. And then the second one from the left, I did find him on the Foundry site, but I didn't find these other 2 guys. And the scale, it looks pretty similar. The second from the right, he is a little taller, but then if you look, we can see that Andrew kind of built up the bases on these guys. I always like that. I think that really kind of helps them stand out, especially if your regular guys are on kind of normal bases, ground level. And if you're having trouble with the sizes for your Hearthguard or something like that, if you're using metals and they're a little shorter, you know, different scales, all you got to do is pump up, you know, the little mound that he's standing on, and most people can't really notice anyways. But these guys are very cool. I do like that far right artisan mini guy. I think he looks cool. I don't know if they had any scale mail back then, but he's looking good. Again, just using the greens. You can see the limited palette. I mean, these guys definitely have a good overhaul, cohesive look, which I know Andrew's kind of a old school Warhammer player, stuff like that. So, you know, that's just kind of how you painted armies, and he's just carrying it forward. But it makes a good looking force on the tabletop for sure. One thing here is, it's interesting that the shading on the leather is actually like a light gray color, which really pops. So it looks like he just did a base coat of brown, and then you just kind of hit the edges with gray, and from a foot away looks decent. It looks a little stark in these photos, but we're taking close-ups. And then for the greens, it looks kind of like the opposite, like he painted green, and then you can see on the far right, that artisan one again, he went back and either used a wash maybe to create those lines, or, you know, he just painted some kind of black or like a dark brown color. And then I wonder for that gray, let's look at the next shot, which is all the shields. So I wonder if the gray on the pants and the leather, and it kind of looks like it is actually the same gray on the shields. And dude, the shields look good. I like it. You can see that they're pretty well highlighted. I like the whites. They got some gray on the bottom, and then the greens are a little more plain, although it looks like there is some depth to the greens as well. It does look like maybe there's a highlight. I'm not sure. Maybe he just went back and painted on the same green again to really brighten it up, but it does look like there's a little bit of depth on those greens. But overall, these guys are looking good as well. And of course, we are talking Vikings here, so we've got some Berserker models, and you can see a couple of Schwanzenstückes poking out here. Looks like one guy's got a bright shield, the other guy's got some bland ones. And these guys, cool looking, nice skin tone. Looks like probably just a wash here on them, but I'm not sure. Again, I don't think Artisan had any Berserkers or anything like this. I'm guessing these might be Foundry, but if you know where these guys come from, and flipping this flipping the angles here, and we're getting some full-on pain. Always something fun about Saga tournaments. There's got to be some Norse Gales or Irish Welsh. Somebody's running around naked, and probably I can't think of a game that has more naked fellows than Saga. Yeah, got some lush pube hair, and decent job armed with axes. The metals look to be just kind of an Agrax Earthshade or a GW wash, I'm guessing by the looks of it, but definitely effective. Definitely these guys stand out on the tabletop. Okay, back with the second unit of warriors, and these guys are once again more Gripping Beast plastics, although it looks like he mixed in a regular guy here with the axe, no doubt the leader. Looking at the greens, I'm looking at the back of that guy on the left. I'm kind of thinking that he did a layer of green and then just a second layer of green that ended up, kind of greener, more forceful, but he kind of used that to shade almost, which I like to do that with red, actually. I don't like my reds to be pink or orange or yellow as the highlight. I just like having red as the final highlight, but a bit of a digression here, liking the hats on these two chaps. Looks like we are doubling up on some heads here, but overall, looking good. That guy on the far right, he don't got no pupils like the rest. So, yeah, he's just got the skin color washed eyes, which I do think that looks a little better than just the whites of the eyes. When I paint bad guys or demons or something like that, I just paint their eyes one single color white because I think that looks kind of menacingly. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking of here when I'm looking at these guys' eyes. Moving on. Okay, we've got another unit of Hearthguard, I believe he's using these guys as. And I actually gave these guys to him to use as berserkers. These were dark plastic Celts, which I believe are from Warlord games. And these ones have been around for a long time. I probably had these four guys for like a decade or so. But I didn't know that he actually had some berserker models, so I figured, you can use these. I'm not using them. And but he just kind of used them as some more Hearthguard here. And you can see that cool thing with the basing is he really built up the bases on two of these guys, because that's one thing with this box set is the way that the torsos kind of attached to the legs is there's a couple guys that are really bending over, and they just look really short and weird. So I would probably do the same thing, just propping these guys up. And it's pretty cinematic with the rocks there on that second guy from the right. So the equipment, I think this is what the sprue comes with. So I don't think the weapons are converted. The helmets, so he probably should have swapped out the two on the left. I think those are the Dark Age warrior helmets that it came with. And then the two on the right, I think, are the Viking helmets. So he had all these given to him by various folks, butcher and such. So he probably just didn't have the real bits to draw on, and he just had to use what he had. But yeah, you could probably see a couple of marauding Vikings using some old style helmets from their travels. And on the right, a little conversion. So that kind of looks a little weird for me. That the crow, it's a Games Workshop bit. It has to be because of how big it is. So this bro, he's rocking the Raven. He must be the Raven Master for the Warband. Looks kind of weird, but yeah, you can do whatever fun stuff you want, and you might think that looks cool. And here's another angle on these chaps. You can see the shields, a couple dark ones and a light one again. And finally, moving on to the big deal here. So what everybody is waiting for. So this is the name of the warlord is Alva Andersdatter, which I believe Andrew named after his wife. So this, in our campaign, this was his warband leader. And you can see a lot of extra attention paid to this model. So up front, you can see they're both, we got a chick warlord with a lady rocking the standard behind her. So that's kind of fun. I have no idea where these models came from. I'm not sure if they're specifically Vikings or not. The back one definitely looks like it. I would say the front one probably too, just by the pigtails. All the Viking ladies have pigtails, it seems, on the models. But okay, so we got to look at that shield. That's definitely some awesome freehand work. The badass Raven, that looks really awesome. That must have been really fun to paint. Looks really cool. And then on the secondary lady, the banner bearer, you can see some runes on hers as well, just on half for whatever reason. And you can see that on the banner up there, we got another little angle on that. It's probably going to be a raven here. So you can see carrying forward the same colors on the rest of the warband. And then for fun, we're doing the face paint on the warlord. So that's another thing. That looks really cool. And I can see the lips. It looks like he painted the lips specifically red. That's if you're painting a female face, that's something that you can do to make it a little more female, even though they're not really wearing lipstick or anything like that. But it just at this scale, there's not that much difference between a male face and a female face. So spending the extra time to do some pink lips or kind of make it rosy cheeks or something like that, a little something you can do to make it a little more feminine. And I don't know. So the back check, her eyes are just the skin color, it looks like. And then I'm not sure. It looks like just white eyes on the warlord. We might have some better photos of that. Okay, we got him from the rear here. You can see Andrew spent some extra time on the banner pole. It looks really cool. It's almost like kind of like a freehand grain on the wood, just with the highlights, kind of some stark slashes. And then we get the full banner there. So not sure what that's made out of. It kind of looks like melted plastic to me. There's some techniques you can use to heat up like a styrene sheet and then kind of melt it a bit, and then you can kind of bend it as you see fit. I'm kind of thinking that's what it is. The Raven banner looks good. And do we get a shot from the other side? That's the therein lies the rube with all these pennant banners, is whatever design you paint, you have to paint it on the other side. So you can either do the exact same thing or just do something different on the other side. So I'm kind of anal retentive, so I want to do the exact same thing, but I know I can't perfectly duplicate it. Looks like he does a pretty good job here. Another close-up here, fuzzy one. And finally, I think this is the last photo of the models. Yep. We have the warlord once again, close-up. So yeah, it looks like she just has white eyes. And then you can really see the pink lips on those two. You can see the free hand on the shield. And yeah, overall nice built-up base. Definitely thematic. I could take a page out of Andrew's playbook if I was putting together another warlord, because mine are just one dude on a base, and that's just more from laziness than anything. So I need to work some banners in for sure. But last pick here is the custom fatigue markers that he made. So these are green stuff blobs, which were pushed into piece of wax paper or some otherwise non-stick surface. Although once it's cured, you shouldn't really have any issue. But so you got these blobs, press them into the ground, and then you can sculpt your rune designs with the sculpting tool. So I'm seeing all the various letters represented here. I'm not sure if this is all of them. There might be a few more that I didn't get a picture of, but did a nice nice glowing effect. So it actually matches the warband with the gray of the stones matching the gray highlight on the leather and also on the shields. And then the green, that's not the same green, it's more of a glowy green. Probably looks like a bright green, and then maybe a dark wash of some kind. It's a little shiny in the recesses there, but friggin' it looks glowy. I'm not sure how he did maybe a green wash around the edge, because it is green around the edge of the rune stones. So that looks cool. Definitely a cool idea for your fatigue markers. I have seen people use actual rune stones or something that you buy, but if you got green stuff here, this is probably this is a lot of green stuff, but probably 50 cents on the dollar worth of actual material and then just the effort itself to finish them. So overall, these are a good looking bunch. Well, thanks for coming along with me on that journey. It's pretty fun talking about those models, giving you guys my thoughts. And I actually have one last thing to add, which is those Vikings are actually for sale, because after the completion of that campaign, Andrew decided that he wasn't that into Saga. He was going to go back and play Age of Sigmar. So he has passed these along for me in order to make this sale. So if you are interested in these Vikings, please hit me up on Twitter, wiscohorndog@gmail.com. You can send me a YouTube message, and we'll figure it out. We'll come to some terms here, but you can see, they look great. They would be a fine addition to anybody's force, and hopefully we can get these in the hands of a fan out there. So anyways, favorite this shit, share with a buddy. If you got somebody looking for some Vikings, definitely share this video with them. And if you've already been liking and sharing my videos, definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I think we're calling it there. Keep on hobby horn dogging, and I'll catch you guys next time. Saga!